Alright, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can stack blocks precisely so that you can create perfectly round towers that are very stable in terms of physics. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I will be using Blender 4.41 for this example, but the process works the same in pretty much every version of Blender that I have ever used, all the way back to 2.6 something. Alright, now in my scene the only thing I have is a camera, so if you have a cube you will be using the cube. I have to add a cube, add mesh and cube. Now I'm just going to create a simple block, so I'm going to resize this on the z-axis down to 1, and I'm going to go to the top side view and I'm going to resize it on the y-axis by 1. Alright, so now we just have a very simple concrete block. Now it is a physics object, so I'm going to press Ctrl A to bring up this menu and click on scale to apply the scale. Alright, now what I want to do, let's say I want the tower to be 30 meters in diameter. I want to move this block 15 meters on the y-axis. So I'm going to press G for grab, Y for the y-axis, and then 15. Alright, that way whenever we duplicate this and move it this way, it's 30 meters apart. Hope that makes sense. But before we duplicate this, we're going to change the point of origin for this cube, and we're only doing this for the purpose of making it easier to stack. And we will actually fix the point of origin later on, before we actually turn them into rigid body objects. Alright, so now I'm going to come up here to Object, set Origin to 3D Cursor, because now the origin point is right here. And if I was to press R for rotate, see what happens? I'm rotating around the origin point. So now I need to press, I'm going to press Alt D. That way it uses the same data block for each duplication. Alt D, enter, and then R for rotate, Z for the Z-axis, 180. Alright. Now I'm going to select both of them. Select the origin point, and I'm going to, by the way, I brought up that selection tool by pressing C on the keyboard. Now I'm going to press Alt D, enter, R for rotate, Z for the Z axis, and then 90. Alright, so the first one I rotated at 180, then the next duplication 90 degrees. Now I'm going to select all of them again using C for circle select, and then I'm going to press Alt D, and then R for rotate, Z for the Z axis, and I'm going to choose 45 because I'm cutting the amount I'm rotating in half each time I do it. Alright, once again C for circle select, select the origin point. Alright, now press Alt D to duplicate those, and I'm going to rotate at 22.5 degrees, rotate Z 22.5, enter, and now we're going to rotate it, or duplicate all of them and rotate them 11.25 degrees. So C for circle select to select all of them, and then press Alt D, and then rotate Z 11.25. Now the number of times you have to do this depends on how big your tower is, the diameter, and also how big these individual pieces are. But at this point we can't duplicate it anymore, otherwise they would be overlapping. So what we want to do at this point is press C for circle select, select all of them. We need to go ahead and come up here to Object, set Origin to center of volume. See, now the origins are back in each individual one. Now we need to come up here to this and change it to individual origins. Now we can press S for scale, and we'll just scale it up until they're almost touching. Now I want to show you something. If we don't change this to individual origins, this is what happens if we press scale. And see, that doesn't help us any. So with this set to individual origins, all we have to do is S for scale, and then just make it big enough where they're almost touching but not overlapping, because we can't have them overlap because these are rigid body objects, or they will be. Alright, now what we need to do, we need to come up here to the tool. Well, actually we need to select one of them and then select the rest, because we have to have one of the objects active, which is this one. And we see that on the Z-axis it's this number. So what I generally do, I bring the calculator over here, I press clear, and then I just write down this number, 1.38465, and then I just move this off to the side. That's just so I can remember. Alright, now I just press enter to release this edit, or whatever it's called, and I'm going to go into front side view by pressing 1. And what I need to do, I need to duplicate these and move them on the Z-axis by this amount. That way they're perfectly stacked. So I'm going to press Alt D Z 1.38465. Enter. Now I'm going to go into top side view, and I'm going to put this in wireframe. Now I'm going to rotate these so that this origin point of these cubes are right in between the bottom row. R for rotate, Z for the Z-axis. Well, it's still set to individual origins, so see, I got to change that. Come up here, change this to medium point. Now press R for rotate, Z for the Z-axis, and then move it right in the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but close is ideal. Now I'm going to go back in the solid view so we can see it easier. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and select all of them. Now this is our pattern. We need to duplicate 2 rows at a time. And when we duplicate them, we need to raise them by twice this amount. That way they're stacked perfectly, resting on each other. So I'm just going to press times 2, enter, and that's the amount we're going to raise them on the Z-axis. So I'll move this out of the way, and I'm going to press Alt D Z 2.7693, enter. See, all of them now are perfectly stacked. They're resting perfectly on each other. And because we did the last duplication we duplicated it and raised it by 2.7 meters all in one move, I can just press Shift R to duplicate what I just did. Shift R, Shift R, Shift R, Shift R. I can make this as basically as tall as I want, as many duplications as my computer can handle, you know. So now I'm going to go ahead and select all of them, and at this point I'm going to turn them into rigid body objects. Since I have this one right here, let me zoom in so you can see it. It's the active one. It has the yellow frame around it. I'm actually going to adjust the physics settings on that one. I'm going to make it a rigid body object. I'm going to set this to, let's say, 10 kilograms. I'm going to set this to box, because box will calculate a little bit quicker, and because this is a square or rectangle type shape, box works good for it. Surface response, I'm going to set this, because bricks, they have a lot of friction on each other. I'm going to set this to about 4. Bounciness, 0, of course. Sensitivity, I don't want no collision margin, so leave that turned off. And on dynamics, I'm going to turn on deactivation and start deactivate it. And all that does is make it a little bit quicker when it comes to calculating the physics. Alright, now, since all of these have, or since this one has those physics settings, I need to copy those physics settings onto the rest of them. So with all of them selected, come up here to Object, Rigid Body, Copy from Active. Alright, see now if I click on any of them, they have the same physics settings. Alright, now let's add a floor. Add Mesh, Plane, and I'm going to scale this up by 100, S for scale, 100, enter. Alright, now I'm going to move this floor plane to the very bottom of this tower. Grab Z for the Z axis. Where to go? I need to put this in wireframe. Apparently it doesn't show up exactly like it did in the previous versions. So G for grab, Z for the Z axis, and then just put it somewhere close. Zoom in, and we're gonna get this as close as we can. G for grab, Z for the Z-axis. Zoom in the rest of the way and make them almost touch. G for grab, Z for the Z-axis. And we'll set it about right there. Just a tiny, tiny gap. Alright, we need to apply the scale on this floor because all these should show 1. So I'm going to press Control A and apply the scale. Now I'm going to give this floor some rigid body properties. Rigid body, I'm going to change it from active to passive because we don't want the floor to fall with gravity. And friction, I'm just going to set it to 1. Alright. Now, if we've done everything like we're supposed to, if I click play right now, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen because there's no intersections and it's completely stable. Alright. Now, let's create a rigid body ball to throw at it. And this is going to be just a sphere. And I'm going to grab it, put it right here. And this is on the x-axis going this way. I'm going to add a single keyframe right here on the x-axis, or not on the y. I meant to do it on the x-axis, not the y-axis. And I'm just right-clicking over whichever axis I want to set a keyframe for. And I'm going to go to about right here, which is frame 50. And I'm going to press G for grab, X for the x-axis, and then just bring it to about right here. And once again, insert single keyframe. Alright. Now I'm going to go back to the very beginning. And I need to click on rigid body, make this active, and I'm going to set this to, let's say, 50. And I need to click animate it, and I need to keyframe it. Now when I get to frame 25, which is halfway between frame 1 and frame 50, I need to unanimate it. So uncheck it and then keyframe it again. That way the keyframing is accelerating the ball till frame 25 where it's the fastest, and then the keyframing turns off, and then it's like throwing the ball. That's the moment you release it. Alright, now if I go back to the beginning, press play. Simple enough, right? And see how stable it is? It would take multiple balls to tear down this tower. So I'm going to go back in the front side view, and I'm going to press A, come down here, and press A to select all the keyframes. And I'm going to press Shift D, Z, and then R for repeat, or Shift R for repeat. Alright, now I'm going to have all these balls, but I don't want them to all fly at once. So I'm going to select all but the last one, and then come down here, press G for grab, 25, enter. And then unselect this top one, C for circle select, middle mouse button to unselect, and then once again, G for grab, 25, enter. And then just keep doing this. C, middle mouse button to unselect, G for grab, 25, enter. Middle mouse button, G for grab, 25, enter. C, middle mouse button, G for grab, 25, enter. Middle C for circle select, middle mouse button to unselect, G for grab, 25, enter. C, middle mouse, G, 25, enter. And you could probably tell what we set up here. Basically, this one's going to throw, 25 frames later, this one will throw, 25 frames later, this one will throw, and so on and so forth. Let me click play. And once again, look how, although let me increase the number of frames in cache. It's set 250 by default. Alright, let me click play one more time, and you can see how stable that tower is. And of course, that's obviously not using any constraints or anything like that. You see, part of the tower is still going to be standing, although it's crumbling a little bit. But anyway, if you found that useful, good. And have any questions, leave a comment, and I will try my best to answer your questions. I guess that's it. Later, folks.